Hello and welcome to Travel Explore Celebrate Life. This is your host Sunila here. And as usual, we are going to be talking about one amazing destination. Actually, this is very close to my heart. And over the last few years, I've gotten to like it even more day by day. And today we have a very special guest who's going to tell us everything about this country, this wonderful country, which is so connected with India, with cricket, with Bollywood, with food, and so many other things that one trip really won't justify everything that is to do here. We're talking of the land down under, Australia. And joining me today on this episode is Nishant Kashikar, who is the country head for Tourism Australia India since the last 12 years. And he's done an amazing job because everything and all the different experiences that Veena World today offers you, a lot of it comes through partnerships like these with Tourism Australia, where we worked on different things over the years. We brought out new itineraries, and this has come, this is the result of a lot of discussion, sometimes over some nice lunches too. But we'll get to that later. So join me in welcoming Nishant. Nishant, hi, it's really good to have you here.
Thank you so much, Sunila. It's not even 12 hours since we have met, since we last met. In fact, we met week before last, and that clearly shows the affection and association that we've had over the number of years. I must say that Australia and India have come closer, and they're much closer than ever before. We truly believe that the future for Australia lies in India. And we really look forward to working with you and the entire Veena World team and send as many passengers, customers to Australia and enjoy and have a great holiday.
Yes, indeed. And the last few weeks, we've been meeting some really special visitors from Australia, but we'll get to that as we go ahead in the show. Nishant, let's start with the first question that comes to my mind or to anyone's mind. Why go to Australia? We have, we are spoiled. Indians are really spoiled. We have the option to go to so many places, not just in India, but all around the world. The world is open today. Everything's open. So if I'm thinking of where should I go, then why should I go to Australia?
That's the easiest question that someone has ever asked me. But Sunila, I've spent almost 12 years with Tourism Australia. And over the course of 12 years, I've been to Australia at least 25, 30 times, if not more. Most of these visits have been on business, but it's been a privilege also to meet some of the amazing tourism operators from Australia, partaking in some of the experiences that they have to offer. So it's been a wonderful journey so far. And so let me start by giving 10 reasons. I can give you 20 or 50 or 100 reasons, but let me talk about those 10 top reasons as to why somebody should go to Australia. I guess the first reason is the fact that this is a country that offers everything for everyone. So if you are a newly married couple, or you're celebrating your anniversary, or you have kids, or you're traveling with your family and friends, the tastes, the likes and preferences of every individual are different, right? And this is one destination that takes care of the travel needs, the passion points of every traveler. So be it young kids, be it singles, explorers, be it newly married couples, be it a family with kids traveling together, empty nesters, those who want adventure, those who want to enjoy food, those who want to enjoy sports. This is one country that offers everything for everyone. So that's the first reason. I'm going to also talk about some of the trivias and interesting things that Australia as a destination has to offer. Not many people are aware that it's got the world's oldest rainforest called the Daintree, and it's in the tropical North Queensland region. So if you have to visit the world's oldest rainforest, you go to Australia. That's reason number two. Reason number three is everyone knows that the Great Barrier Reef is the only underwater wonder in the world. And it's, as we call it, it's an aquarium that's visible from the outer space as well. And when you visit the Great Barrier Reef, you see thousand shades of blue. You can snorkel, you can scuba dive, you can ride an underwater scooter. And one of the experiences that I personally enjoyed, despite being a non-swimmer, was snorkeling in the Great Barrier Reef. The amount of fish, or the variety of fish that we see, and the variety of colors that you see in the Great Barrier Reef are second to none.
And I'm going to agree there, Nishan. I'm going to stop you here because when I was at the Great Barrier Reef, I actually had a chance to do my scuba dive. And it was my first dive. And the experience was simply amazing. I mean, I still have my photographs with the fish just staring me in the face. And it was just mesmerizing. So even after coming back from the dive, I was just sitting there calm by myself, and it's really like how you see in the movies.
And
So that's something you can't forget
I'll
at
talk
all.
about those life-changing experiences in a bit, maybe
Sure.
during a conversation. But yes, the Great Barrier Reef is
Yeah.
something that you should not miss. Australia is also the adventure capital of the world. So be it adventure on the land, adventure underwater, adventure in the skies, you can do virtually everything. And the attractions and the experiences that they offer, the adventure tour operators offer, are simply amazing. You can skydive, you can bungee jump, you can take those amazing zip lines in the rainforest. I mentioned about the underwater activities. You can take a Segway ride, you can do quad bikes, and all you can do this in each and every state of Australia. The next reason, or reason number four, is it's got the two most world-renowned icons, the Sydney Opera House and the Sydney Harbour Bridge. And every time I go to Sydney, I have to pay a visit to the Opera House and
Mhm.
the Harbour Bridge. It's like visiting a temple and something that you have to do,
True.
every time. And you can just sit there for hours together, admiring the spectacular views and the sunrise and the sunset over these two icons. And it's a different experience altogether. The next experience, the reason number five, is driving along the Great Ocean Road. This is as if you're driving on the edge of the world. And all of the listeners would really like to know that the Indian driving license in English is valid in Australia, and we drive on the same side as the road as we drive in India. So you drive on the left hand side of the road, and the cars are of right hand drive variety. So driving along the Great Ocean Road, it is in fact the world's longest war memorial, which
Yeah.
was built by the soldiers in memory of those who lost their lives during World War One. So this is like a tribute being paid to those who have fought for the country.
Yeah, Nishant, and it's such a wonderful tribute. Like we've actually done one episode. Neil and I did one on the Great Ocean Road itself, so our viewers and our listeners can go back and listen to that. But I also want to say that this year, when I came for ATE, which is the Australian Tourism Exhibition, exposition where we meet all our partners, and after that, I had a chance to do exactly what you're saying, which was driving on the Great Ocean Road. In fact, we didn't just drive on it, we stayed at two places
Wow.
out there, Anglesey, and then we went ahead and stayed at Port Campbell. And I really want to tell a lot of people, because many times we just take the drive from Melbourne in one day and come back. But really, if you can have even one day and spend some time on the Great Ocean Road, it's a totally different experience, because just driving. And I remember the first time that you start seeing the ocean, and I was driving and I almost wanted to stop, but there was no place to stop. But it just stuns you, because you're driving and then suddenly you start seeing the ocean, and then of course the ocean is with you all the way through. So the rainforest on one side, the ocean on the other, and this beautiful road.
Yeah, you've
It's really
described
sweet.
that exactly the way it is. It's a 243-kilometer of stretch where you're driving along the ocean, and it can't get better than that.
Yeah,
So yes, the Great Ocean Road
100%.
should be on your bucket list. Then there are a lot of animals that are native to Australia. You don't find these animals anywhere else, like the kangaroos, the koalas, the quokkas,
Mhm.
and you can actually have breakfast with the kangaroos and the koalas in their natural habitat. You go to Kangaroo Island, you
Yeah.
go to Barossa Valley, and you can enjoy breakfast in the wild where there are no fences, and you can actually interact with them where they live. So don't forget to have a nice meal in the midst of the Australian wildlife. You rightly said Australia is known for cricket, and every time you go to Australia, or if you go to Australia, you have to watch a game or just visit one of the iconic stadiums, be it the Sydney Cricket Ground, the Melbourne Cricket Ground, the Gabba, the Wacker, the Perth Stadium, the Adelaide Oval, or Bellerive Oval as well in Hobart. So each of these Australian stadiums has got a story, it's got a character, and you have to watch a game at these iconic stadiums. Incidentally, the ICC Men's T20 World Cup will be hosted in Australia in October, November. The first India-Pakistan game will be played on the 23rd of October, which is on the day of Diwali, the Dhanteras Day, and we are really looking forward to this particular game because that's going to bring in a lot of tourists, a lot of honeymooners, a lot of family travelers, and the MCG will be packed with 100,000 people who will be celebrating cricket and watching this wonderful epic encounter between India and Australia.
Mm.
So that's another reason.
Sure.
Uh, then I would say Australia's also got a wonderful outback. In fact, it's got one of the oldest cultures in on the planet, the indigenous or Aboriginal people of Australia,
Mm.
and therefore you have to visit the spiritual heart of Australia, called the Red Centre, and there's this beautiful experience called the Field of Light. Now, Field of Light is like a it's an installation of solar illuminated glass stems, and there are like almost 50,000 of those covering 7 to 8 football fields right in the middle of nowhere. You can take a nice leisurely walk there. You can actually have a meal there. You can take a chopper ride, and it's simply spiritual and mesmerizing. So, Field of Light is an experience that you should not miss. And finally, if you go to Canberra, you can actually watch a live parliament session. You can see the politicians at play in Canberra, or Tasmania, Tasmania, where you have been and had a
Yes.
beautiful holiday, I think many years back. It's
Mm.
time to go back again. But
Mm.
Tassie is a place where you find the cleanest air on the planet, in a place called Cape Grim, which is just off Hobart. So, lot of reasons. I can give another 10, keep talking for another 10 minutes about those
I'm sure.
experiences, but I guess let's move on to the next question. And all I can say is, right from the cities to the outback, from the beaches to the rainforest to the rock and the reef, for a single traveler to a family traveler, from nature, culture to adventure, this is one continent that you should not miss and should be on your bucket list.
Yes, Nishant, that's been a beautiful introduction to Australia. And I agree with you 100%. That is just so much to do there that I'm just thinking when you were listing all those reasons that how can anyone do all of this in one trip? It's next to impossible. We probably need 10 trips to do everything. Well, if not 10, at least a few times, a few multiple trips, because the country is huge, it's big. And like Veena word, it's for every family and everyone in the family. There's something or the other different that you can do there. You were speaking of cricket, and I'm going to come to that point. But before that, you said you've been there 25 times and you've seen so many different things, more than 25 times. I've been there quite a few times myself. And of course, there is always something more to see. But is there anything that is still on your bucket list when it comes to Australia?
There are, in fact, a few things that I haven't done. I maybe highlight just three or four. I think the
Mhm.
first one is I haven't been to the Daintree rainforest. And
That's where
it's
I have been. So I am one up on
good.
you
You
there.
one up on me there. So yeah, that's a
Yeah.
place that I want to be. It's just
Mhm.
want to just land into Cairns,
Yes.
drive down from Cairns to Palm Cove, Port Douglas, and then get into the Daintree rainforest region. Stay in one of those nice eco lodges there,
Yeah.
which are really spectacular. Take those amazing walks with an Aboriginal guide,
And zip
and zip
lining in the
lining.
rainforest. That's something you can't miss. And of course, going sailing, from Cairns. So just go out sailing. It is those two experiences for me were the most special when it comes to
Yes, so
Daintree and Cairns.
Daintree is one. The next thing that I want to do is with a group of friends.
Mhm.
And I want to do a nice camper van tour, either on the Great Ocean Road or drive down from Perth to maybe Fremantle to Margaret River and Albany, and just stop at those, wherever you feel like stopping, in fact,
Yeah. Mhm.
and enjoy spectacular views, spectacular food, and do that once in a lifetime camper van experience. So if you are a group of friends traveling together, since your Indian driving license is valid in Australia, you drive on the same
It's
side,
easy.
you can do a nice camper van tour there. The third thing that I want to do, something that again you have done, Sunila,
Mhm.
and I haven't done. In fact, I've been there, but
Mhm.
I was a bit unwell, so I would like to do it again. Is a trip to Tassie, a self-drive trip in Tasmania. So land into Hobart, drive from Hobart to, you know, uh, Port Arthur. From Port Arthur, go to Fresnay and watch the beautiful Wineglass Bay.
Wine
From there,
glass
drive
bay.
across to Cradle Mountain, Launceston. It is
Mm.
just beautiful. So a self-drive trip in Tassie, and that's exactly what you said. What do you do after you've been to Australia? Okay, go back again and do like mono-state itineraries and explore the depth of every state, and the wonderful regions in each state of Australia. And then maybe finally, would like to go back to Kangaroo Island, because
Yeah.
it's almost 7 to 8 times the size of Singapore with a population of just 3 to 4 thousand people. And you want to go to a place where there's no mobile network, and it's just you in the midst of nature, in the midst of wildlife, and just spend a nice 4 to 5 days on that particular island. So yeah, that's on the bucket
As
list.
you're talking of your bucket list, I think my number of trips to Australia just keep multiplying. I really think yes to even if you want to do one state at a time, there is still so much to do, and you can choose and pick any one major city and then just take a car and set out into the surrounding regions. And each state has so many different experiences out there that you're never tired or bored, that it's monotonous. It's never
And
like that. There's
driving is
always
so
something
easy.
different. So
Driving is so easy in Australia as well, I guess, with Google
yeah,
Maps and
yeah.
your signages and signboards on the roads. It's wonderful, and it's just you who are driving, because almost there's no one in the middle of, as soon as you get out of the city, almost 25-50 kilometers out of the city, there's just you and no one else driving on the road. So it's
Which
it's a really
reminds
easy
me,
to
the
ride.
last time when I was in Tasmania and I was driving, and I was actually stopped by a cop, and it was quite funny. And I started, sweating that what did I do wrong? Because I thought I was under the speed limit. I mean, the one thing where people can go wrong when they're driving in Australia is the speed limits, because you're just not used to open roads and you
Right.
don't even realize what speed you're at. But I was very careful about that. And he stopped me and he came in and he said, "Do you know what you're doing?" And very innocently, I said, "No, I don't." And he thought I was acting smart, but I wasn't. And then he said, "You crossed the line." And again, really innocently, I asked him, "Which line?" And then he pointed to the road because he thought I was really being like very funny. And he said, "This is the no overtaking line. How could you cross it?" And I suddenly realized that many times in Mumbai, the streets are so crowded that you don't even pay attention to any lines on the road anywhere, right? But after that lesson, that this was almost, I think, about 10 years back or so, I've been following all lines everywhere.
In
So
Mumbai
it
as
was a
well, right?
lesson well learned. Well, I try, but sometimes in Mumbai, I go straight over the line. Anyways, let's come back to cricket. And you mentioned cricket and you mentioned the ICC T20, and everyone's really excited about it because I think it's the first big event after the world has opened up.
Yeah.
So everyone's looking forward to it a lot. But my first question is, if I haven't booked tickets yet, is there still a chance that I can get to Australia to watch any of the games, or is everything sold out?
You can still get tickets. There are several ICC appointed official travel agents and the hospitality agents
Mhm.
who will help you to book your tickets. Um, but I would just advise that book now, because
Yeah,
the India-Pakistan games already sold out. But
there are the other games.
some of the
Yeah.
official agents would still have will be holding blocks and holding some tickets. So you can either contact them, or yeah, sometimes even the ICC's website opens up these small windows where you can
Mhm.
book your ticket. So keep an eye on that as well. But yeah, it's a great destination. It's a destination that celebrates sports. In fact, Australia has the highest number of medal tally when it comes to per capita uh, uh, you know tally in terms of total
Mhm.
the medals
Sporting.
that they win
Mhm.
as compared to the
Yeah.
population of the country. And almost 25% of the population participates in professional sporting activity. So that's how health
Mhm.
conscious they are.
Yeah. Mm.
And you would see people jogging in during lunch times and as soon as they get back home from work. So they're quite conscious about health. And therefore, I guess Australia does, or rather organizes the sporting events really well. So we had the fortunate of attending the ICC 2015 World Cup in Australia. I was there for the Women's World Cup finals on the 8th of March 2020, just before the world came to a
World
grinding
came.
halt.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
then I intend to travel for the ICC T20 Men's World Cup in a couple of months from now on the 23rd of October. So apart from cricket, I guess you can also travel for the Australian Open in Melbourne,
Mhm.
which takes place
Yeah.
in the second fortnight of January, and then in March you have the Formula One Grand Prix that also takes place in Australia. But you know, if you would ask me which is the best time to travel to Australia, I would say that it's a year-round destination. So
Mm.
we are in the
But
middle of
Nishant, we
yeah.
kind of know that. But what is the best time for cricket? If we are really cricket fans, and the reason I'm asking you this is that India is also a cricket crazy nation, and Australia loves all their sports. But cricket is a big part of Australia, and we've had the chance to meet a lot of Australian cricketers as well. So, or to see them and really enjoy their game. Like it's fun to watch them play, and when they even are a part of IPL, you cheer for them because then suddenly they are your team as well, right? So if I'm a cricket fan and I want to go to Australia, is that the best season to go? And I've also heard of this Boxing Day match. So I'm wondering, why is it so popular? Like,
Okay.
what is it all about?
So I'll answer the first question, which is the best time to watch cricket. So usually international teams travel to Australia between November, December, Jan, and Feb. So that's the cricketing season in Australia. That's the
Mhm.
summer. That's the end of spring, summer,
Yeah.
and then the beginning of autumn. So that's where they play the sport. In the winter, they play football, or Aussie rules, as we call it. Talking about the Boxing Day test now. you know, you would wonder what is Boxing Day test and why does it have so much significance. So this name actually came from, several years or many years ago, when the rich used to box up their gifts to give it to the poor. So it was traditionally celebrated as a day off for servants, a day when they got some special gifts on the Christmas day from their masters. So every year on the 26th of December, they play this Boxing Day test match. And it's called the Boxing Day in most of the Commonwealth countries. And there's nothing like watching a Boxing Day test match at the MCG, which is completely packed with 100,000 spectators. So what also happens on Boxing Day is that there's a massive sale in all the malls across Australia, which they call it a
Yes.
Boxing Day sale. So you get discounts up to almost like 80-90% on that particular day, and people
Mhm.
queue up from the previous night to buy their favorite brands. So you not don't just go for the cricket, but you also go for shopping on Boxing Day in Australia.
Wow, that sounds like fun. I mean, the best of both worlds, cricket and shopping. And just to continue on the topic of cricket, last week we had the chance to meet Brad Hawke from
Yes.
Western Australia. So that was really special to have lunch with him. That was amazing. In one of the other Tourism Australia events, we've had Glenn McGrath come here, and I
Yeah.
remember standing by the Taj Mahal Palace and seeing the Gateway of India and Glenn McGrath speaking. It was stunning. Even through the lockdown, we've had a chance to be on a Zoom call with Brett Lee. So it's been really very interesting. And I think that keeps tourism alive. And tourism and cricket is so interlinked. But you are a cricket player as well, and you play cricket
Yes.
really well. You love cricket. So, which of the Aussie cricketers have you met? And is there anything that you want to share on that?
In fact, I've met the entire Australian cricket team twice at various
Wow.
welcome receptions, which have been organized by the consul generals and the high commissioners. So
Mhm.
whenever the Australian cricket team visits India, I get a chance to meet them. But I've had a pretty close working relationship with a few of Australian cricketers, including Brett Lee,
Mhm.
Adam Gilchrist, Matthew Hayden, Glenn McGrath, who came for a
Yeah.
previous event, Ricky Ponting. Recently, I've worked with David Warner, and now Brad Hawk, who we met just last week.
Yes.
I guess there's one thing that differentiates Australian cricketers versus the rest, and the fact that they're extremely warm, welcoming, and inviting. Not so much on the cricket field, where they're fiercely competitive, but
Hmm.
off the cricket field, they are a different individual, a different human being altogether. And that's because Australia is kind of an egalitarian society, or a society where you're respected irrespective of your status or the wealth that you
Yeah.
possess. And even if when we meet the premiers or the chief
Yes.
ministers or the ministers or the board members who keep visiting India, they never wear their designations on their chest. They are
Mm.
extremely humble, they're extremely gracious. They'll talk to you as if you're their best mate. And therefore, it's the way they treat you makes you feel really special, and they would respect you irrespective of who you are, and that's what differentiates the Australian community and people at large as compared to other nationalities, is what I say. And therefore, I've spent 12 long years with this amazing group of people.
No, you're absolutely right. Even, just yesterday when we met the Premier of New South Wales, of which Sydney is the capital. So the Premier is somewhat equivalent to the Chief
Chief
Minister of
Minister.
the state for us. And he was so humble in that sense, like there was no air about it. And he was actually interested in listening to our ideas on what in Australia can appeal to the Indians, what more can we do. And I think it is this engagement, it is this interest in India, as a market that really helps to build the ties between India and Australia when it comes to tourism. So, cricket and tourism. And my next thing, of course, the next topic is going to be Bollywood, because that's where we've seen Australia. And a part of it has also inspired us to go there, because we've seen the Sydney Opera House, we've seen the Harbour Bridge, we've seen other places, and in movies. So it's always been interesting. So, some of them stand out, like Dil Chahta Hai, Salam Namaste, some of the songs. Sometimes I feel like watching the movie just to watch the country, but maybe that's just me. I don't know. But when I miss something too much, I feel like, okay, let's watch this. It's visually a pleasure. But what is it, Nishan, that you think that is exciting and attracts people, like especially Bollywood, to Australia. And are there any secret movies being filmed there that we will know soon? You can spill the beans for us.
Not now, maybe once they're released. But yes, you rightly said there's so many movies that are shot in Australia. Dil Chahta Hai, Salam Namaste, Singh is King,
Mhm.
Bachna Hai Hasino, Chak De India was partially shot there. Shadi Ke Side Effects with Farhan and Vidya was shot there. Harsha Bhogle once stated whilst we were having a nice interaction, and he's made a very relevant point that the quality of light and therefore the
Yeah.
quality of production in Australia is outstanding and spectacular. So imagine you're watching a cricket match on television in Australia
Mhm.
versus a cricket match in any other part of the world. You'll see that the reception and the picture quality of the games played in Australia are far superior as compared to any other country. Because maybe because of the depleting ozone layer, they get some good sunlight. And
Mhm.
not just that, I guess the colors that you see in
Yeah.
Australia are quite magnificent. So you have the greens of the rainforest, you have the blues of the oceans, you have the ambers of the outback. And, again, when we went for ATE, and I remember that evening when we were hosted on that yacht by the CEO of
Yes.
Destination New South Wales, the sunset that we saw was breathtakingly beautiful and so romantic. I mean, we were not
Yeah.
with the right, with our
It
loved
was a
ones there.
business event,
It was
but it
business
was
event.
still, it just made I think the entire vibe and the mood was something else. And along with the sunset, we had the moonrise. So it was a
Exactly.
full
It was
moon
full moon
night.
night.
And at just, we just finished admiring the sunset, and then suddenly the moon came up for us. It was one evening, even I can't forget.
So if you
Yeah.
want to see different shades of blues and greens and ambers,
Mm.
you got to go and see that by yourself on your next trip to Australia.
That's really right, and I think that's what we see in the movies as well. And even on my last trip to Australia, which was just recently in May and June, I noticed that the sky is just stunning. So I would usually I love driving, and I can go on driving for hours, but I also enjoyed sitting in the next seat and just taking photos and videos of the sky and just admiring the sky as we were driving, because even in the cities, and just when you get off the city in the surrounds, suddenly you have this wide open expanse. You can see the horizon for miles and miles and miles, and just stunning skies. So I think half of my phone is just the skies in Australia. So yes, you're right, that is something that is to be enjoyed. Nature truly at its best out there. We've been speaking about Australia quite a bit, Nishant, and yes, you started off with 10 reasons, and we can have 100 more to go there. But can we just quickly say that if I've been to Australia for the first time, maybe I've done Sydney and Melbourne and maybe Gold Coast and Cairns, as a second time, what should I do? Should I go see the other cities, or would you say go back to the same city and explore a little more in the regions, or maybe both?
So your first trip to Australia should not be less than 2 weeks, is what I would recommend, because there's
Mhm.
so much to see and do in every state. And traditionally, what we've observed is that Indians love the east coast of Australia. You start off with the Gold Coast, you go to Cairns, visit the Great Barrier Reef, then come down to Sydney, Melbourne, and you stop there and come back, on your 10 to 15-day holiday. But once you're going, there's enough reasons for you to go back to Australia, because there are like 4 to 5 states that you haven't explored. So you could visit South Australia for the wines. You've got some amazing vineyards there, the Jacobs Creek, the Penfolds, the Seppelsfield, where you can actually taste the wine uh, from the date of birth
Mm.
or the year of birth that
Yeah.
you're born. Uh, you could go
Mm.
and visit the spiritual capital of Australia called the Uluru. And as I said, the Field of Light experience,
Yeah.
which is quite spectacular. You can actually drive from Adelaide to Ayers Rock as well. It's a stunning drive, enjoying all the landscapes along the way. Tasmania, something that we've been talking about,
Yeah.
is clearly known for its beauty, its cleanest air, and got some amazing
I
seascapes and
heard
landscapes
they
to
they
offer.
even bottle the air there at Caves
Yes,
Brim, and they sell it, right?
yeah,
The air is so pure, and the purest in the on the
in the
earth, I
world.
think, in
Yes,
the
that's
world,
right.
right? So they bottle that air, and you can actually buy that air. I mean, that is amazing. Yeah.
And then Western Australia for road trips, where you can again
Yes.
drive from Perth to either Fremantle,
Yeah.
Margaret River down to Albany, or go up north till Broome and Ningaloo Reef as well. So there's lots to see and do.
Hmm.
And this is one destination where you don't switch off, you switch on. because you
Mhm.
participate in each and every activity
Yeah.
and the experience that the destination has to offer. So a minimum of 2 weeks, ideally three, and then go
Mm.
back and explore each state at your own pace. Uh,
Yeah, just a point here for everyone who's listening. Definitely plan your 2 to 3 week itinerary. But right now, if you're planning to go, then do book early and apply for your visas early, because that is going to be the one point that will make all the difference. And like everybody else is also wanting to travel. So everyone's seeing a lot of rush, and it would be nice if you can apply earlier. But Nishan, MasterChef Australia changed a lot of things for India and for the world, and it introduced us to this wonderful world of food. So, is there any one place in Australia that you would say that you must go, or is there any one dish or something special about food? I mean, I know there's too much. We'll probably need an entire podcast on just food in Australia. But for me, I think it was Tasmania, like going there and being in the market, or even the Queen Victoria markets, in Victoria. So it's something that experience was amazing. Of course, there's so many places, but do you have a favorite?
So you nailed it. Australia is indeed the culinary capital of the world, and since it's a melting pot of different cultures, people across different parts of the world have migrated to Australia and called Australia home. You get the best of everything.
Mm,
So you get the best of Chinese food or seafood. You get the
yes.
best of Malay, Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, Italian, Mexican. The fish and chips are popular,
Mm,
so are the burgers and the barbecue, which is kind of a thing
yes.
that you do every weekend probably in each home. So that's so traditional uh, to Aussies, where you can have those amazing pork chops and lamb chops and kangaroo or the emu meat, which is also
Mm,
quite delicious. So that's for the non-vegetarians. But even there's lots that Australia has to offer for vegetarians, because of the sheer quality of produce in Australia is world class. So for vegetarians, you can enjoy a lot of that as well. And as Indians, we have a sweet tooth. We love
mm,
that sweet. We love that
yes.
hot chocolate, and there are some amazing cafes. Quaint little cafes. You would have heard of Coco Black and
Yes.
Hague's, and there's hot chocolate by Max Brenner, something that I have to do on my every visit. There's a Koi Desert Bar in Sydney that you should not miss. There's the Lind Cafe as well in Sydney. And if you're driving, we spoke about self-drive. There are a lot of these
Mm,
chocolate factories along the way if you're
yeah.
going from Phillip Island or the Great Ocean Road or Yarra
Yarra Valley.
Valley.
Mm.
And you should just buy loads of chocolate, enjoy the visit out there. And if you have a sweet tooth, there's no other place than Australia. But yeah, and
I
then we spoke
agree.
about breakfast or
You know,
lunches with the kangaroos and the koalas in the middle of
yes,
nowhere.
yes, yes.
You asked for one, I probably gave you 10 by now. So, so
That's true.
yes,
And sometimes you just come across things that you don't expect. So when I was on the Great Ocean Road and we were in Apollo Bay, and we were just walking, and we came across this small ice creamery, and I think it was called Dooley's, and they have more than 500 awards, and we had to have an ice cream. So we ordered a small one, but the portion sizes are huge, and it was already quite big, but very delicious. So that's
Sunil, I
something we
was
should
in
definitely
Tassie.
not
In
miss.
Tassie, I remember I was driving from Fresnay to Cradle Mountain, and we were passing this place called Mount Elephant, and they serve one of the best pancakes. It was called Mount Elephant Pancakes. And
Mhm.
we were specifically told by one of the friends that you met in Fresnay that you have to go there. And we intentionally took a breakfast hall there,
Mm.
had amazing pancakes with ice creams, and
Yeah.
it was wonderful.
Yeah. It's yeah, some small places really bring out something very different, which brings me, Nishant, to the last point for the day today. I mean, it's been amazing, and I know we could probably do 10 more
We could possibly keep talking about our next one
episodes
hour
on
about Australia.
Australia and not stop. But just to close it, what you spoke about it, you touched on it some time back, but if you could elaborate, what has been the life-changing experience in Australia? You mentioned that you would speak about it. So is there something special that was for you, or which can be really life changing for people when they visit there?
So I have maybe two or three of them that I wish to
Mhm.
highlight. The first one is just before the pandemic, I went to the Great Barrier Reef, and I've been there several times, but never had this, never dared to jump into the ocean to snorkel. And I was told that if you're a non-swimmer, it's perfectly fine, and you
mm,
can snorkel despite the fact that you don't know how to swim. And many Indians just can't swim because
mm, mm,
maybe we just don't like swimming in the waters out here. Uh, but the
mm.
snorkeling in the Great Barrier Reef was something that literally allayed all my fears and inhibitions, and I took that that dive into the ocean. There were a lot of people who were helping me out and
Yeah.
just relaxing me, and it was the most soothing experiences that I enjoyed whilst I was there. So that's the first one. The second one was I think in 2016 or 2017 when I went to the Red Center at Ayers Rock, and this whole field of light installation of 50 illuminated solar candles,
Mm,
as I would say, in the middle of the desert was indeed quite spiritual. And that calmness where there's no one around you and you're
mm,
just observing this beautiful installation in the middle of the desert was something quite breathtaking as well as quite spiritual. And the last one, where you were a part of this particular trip, was
mm.
sailing on a private yacht in
Yes,
the
I
just in
agree.
the outskirts of Sydney. That was in May, which was really calming, and it just showed us that there's so much to life than what we really do. So I guess Australia is a country that literally transforms you because of its size, because of its people, because of its culture, landscapes, and the spectacular nature that this country has to offer. So yeah, you can be a different person once you're back from your holiday.
Thank you so much, Nishant. That was spectacular. And I agree. The sailing experience was amazing. What made it even more special was the way we reached there. We took a seaplane and we just landed on water. And then we had a boat. And I think the whole world was forgotten after that. We were a group of about 6, 7 people just sailing. And after a point, I think we even stopped talking to each other because
Exactly.
we were just with nature. And I think that day for me is my calming experience that I keep going back to when things get chaotic here. But to all our viewers and listeners, I hope you've enjoyed listening about Australia. And yes, we will keep coming back with more episodes on Australia simply because, as Nishant has said, there are more than 10 reasons to go there, 10 different experiences, hundreds of experiences, in fact. So once you go there, do let us know what was your life-changing experience. We'd love to hear from you. My email is sunila@veenaward.com, sunila@veenaward.com. And next week, we'll be back again with some other episode and some other destination, equally exciting, but and Neil should be back by then. So thank you so much, everyone. I think Nishant still has a
Sunila,
point to say.
just
Yes.
one last point, and that's been a concern on everybody's minds. And we spoke about it briefly. We touched
Mhm.
upon it during our conversation. Let me elaborate a bit more on the visa situation in
Sure,
Australia.
sure.
And so, if you're planning a trip to Australia during Diwali, during Christmas, we urge you to lodge your visa application right now
Right away.
because there's a huge pent up demand. The High Commission is receiving, like, they have 50% more caseloads and lodgements as compared to pre-pandemic levels. So we are really seeing a huge pent-up demand for travel to Australia. What's so unique about the Australia visa processing is the fact that there are no biometrics required. There are no personal interviews required. So you don't have to visit any center to give your fingerprints or, even for a personal interview. You do not have to show your evidence of travel, that you do not have a
Mm.
flight ticket or a hotel voucher that you need to attach as a
You
part of
don't
your
need to
application.
wait to book that. You can just
and
apply.
and you don't have to
Mm.
physically submit your passport as well, because the entire process is online. And
Online.
Veena World, who's got almost over 500 Aussie specialist agents, the
Yes.
highest by any tour operator in the country or in the world, I would say, will help you to have a great experience, you have a great trip. And yeah, we look forward to welcoming you in Australia. And for any other information, you can just visit australia.com. And if you need any further information about Australia or meet us in person, you can also visit our beautiful office in Mumbai.
Thank you so much, Nishant. There you have it. It is really easy to get there. All that is needed is to start planning. So, chalo, bag bharo, nikal pado, and let's go to Australia. Thank you, Nishant, and thank you, everyone. Bye bye. See you next
Thank you
time.
so much. Bye, Sunila.